Should you pay off debt or start investing? Let's break it down. All right, let's talk money moves. One question that comes up a lot is whether you should be focusing on paying off your debts or putting your cash into investments. Like, why throw all your extra cash at debt when you could use it to make even more money, right? Or is it smarter to chip away at the debt mountain and get it out of your life? Spoiler alert, there's no one-size-fits-all answer here. Sometimes these choices could make a huge difference. Think 6 figures or even 7 over time. So, how do you decide? We're going to dive into the pros and cons of both options so you can figure out the best move for you. Trust me, this could be the difference between being flat out broke or living your best financially free life. Also, if you're all about leveling up your money game, don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I promise there's a ton of content here that could seriously change how you think about your finances. Step 1. Build a financial safety net. Before you even think about paying off debt or investing, make sure you've got a solid foundation. We're talking about having an emergency fund. Basically, some money stashed away for those oh crap moments in life. Because if you're caught off guard without any savings, it doesn't matter if you're paying off debt or investing. One financial surprise can knock you right back to square one. Think about it. No savings and then boom, your car needs a major repair. You'd either have to dip into your investments or rack up even more debt to cover it. Not exactly ideal. So aim to save enough to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses. This little cushion can make a huge difference. Why paying off debt rocks. One of the biggest perks of knocking out your debt is the breathing room it creates in your budget. Think about all those different debt payments leaving your account every month. It can feel like you're just working to pay the bills and not making any real progress. The more payments you've got, the more it feels like you're running on a financial hamster wheel. And here's the kicker. A good chunk of your loan payments goes straight to interest. That's money you never get back. But when you finally clear those debts, it's like getting a nice pay raise. Suddenly, a bigger slice of your paycheck is yours to keep. Being debt-free means it's way easier to stash more money into your retirement fund. And maybe, just maybe, you could retire early and enjoy life more. Why investing might be the smart play. On the flip side, some folks like to invest their extra money instead of wiping out debt right away. The logic? The returns on investments can sometimes blow away the interest rates on debts. So, why rush to pay off a debt with a 5% interest rate if you could earn, say, 10% or more from your investments? Of course, paying off all your debts first could take years. In the meantime, you'd miss out on all that sweet compound interest. That's the magic of your money making more money. Over time, this can seriously snowball and take your wealth to the next level. The risk factor, the big decider. The real game changer in this decision is risk. When you pay off debt, you're locking in a guaranteed return. For example, if you've got a credit card charging 30% interest and you pay it off, that's like getting a 30% return on your money with zero risk. Pretty sweet, right? Investing, though, always comes with some level of risk. Sure, you could earn a 10% return, or even more, by investing in something like the S&P 500. Historically, the S&P 500 has averaged over 10% per year since it started. But the stock market can also tank. Remember the early 2000s? The S&P 500 had negative returns for 3 straight years. Then there was 2008 when it dropped by a brutal 38%. Long term, you're more likely to come out ahead if you stick with it, but there are no guarantees. It's super important to keep this in mind when you're setting up your financial game plan. A real-life example, mortgage versus investments. Let's break this down with a real-world example. Say you've got a $350,000 mortgage with a 30-year term at a 4% interest rate. Your monthly payment is about $1,671. Now let's say you've got an extra $1,000 each month. Should you use that to pay down your mortgage faster or invest it? Scenario 1. Aggressively paying off the mortgage. If you decide to throw that extra $1,000 each month toward your mortgage, you'll be free of it in about 14 years and 5 months, way faster than the original 30 years. You'd only end up paying around $110,799 in interest over the life of the loan. Then, for the remaining years, you could invest not just the extra $1,000, but also the $1,671 you were paying on the mortgage, for a total of $2,671 each month. Over the next 15 years and 7 months, that investment could grow to $1,203,916. If you subtract the interest you paid, $110,799, you'd end up with about $1,093,117 at the end of 30 years. Scenario 2. Minimum payments and investing the rest. Now, if you only make the minimum payments on the mortgage and invest that extra $1,000 each month instead, things look a little different. You'd pay a total of $251,544 in interest over the 30 years, way more than in the first scenario. But your investments? Assuming an average return of 10%, they'd grow to $2,171,000 over the same period. Subtracting the interest you paid on the mortgage, you'd end up with $1,919,456. Comparing the two scenarios, investing your extra $1,000 instead of putting it toward the mortgage could leave you with over $800,000 more after 30 years. That's some serious cash, maybe enough to retire early or fund some big dreams. Of course, this example doesn't account for the ups and downs of the stock market and assumes a pretty steady return. Also, inflation plays a big role here. With a 30-year mortgage, your monthly payment stays the same, but the value of money changes. If inflation averages around 4%, the value of the dollar halves roughly every 18 years. This means you're paying back your loan with dollars that are worth less than they were when you first borrowed them. While inflation eats away at the value of your money, investing can help you keep up or even outpace it. You could be paying down debt with dollars that are worth less over time while growing your investments in assets that hold or increase in value. That's like getting the best of both worlds. Mortgages, a special case of debt versus investing. Mortgages are a unique kind of debt when deciding between paying it down or investing. Why? 2 reasons. First, mortgage loans often come with super low interest rates, sometimes as low as 3% or 5%, which is close to the average inflation rate. Essentially, you're borrowing money almost for free. Some investors find mortgages so appealing for this reason. Second, mortgages are long-term commitments. The longer the loan, the bigger the difference it makes whether you choose to pay it off faster or use the extra money to invest. So it's worth taking a close look at your numbers. So what's the verdict? Deciding whether to pay off debt or invest is not as straightforward as it seems. There are several things to consider. Cash flow is a huge factor. Having extra room in your budget can be a game changer, especially for those nearing retirement. When you're getting close to retiring, it's all about cash flow, not necessarily which strategy will make you more money in 3 decades. Risk is another big consideration. Generally, paying down high-interest loans first and using lower-interest loans for leverage will yield the best results over time. And hey, there's no rule saying you can't do a bit of both. You could use any extra cash to chip away at debt while also putting some into investments. People have strong opinions about this topic, but at the end of the day, the numbers tell a clear story. It's up to you to weigh the risks and rewards based on your unique situation. Take a close look at the pros and cons of each option and figure out what makes the most sense for you. If you made it this far, drop a comment below and let me know what you think is more profitable, paying off debt or investing. And if this content helped you out in any way, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe for more money tips that could seriously change your life.